The wail of police sirens pierced the bustling city streets. A middle-aged black man, impeccably dressed in a navy blue suit, stood in stunned confusion as two police officers approached him with suspicious eyes. "Sir, stop right there." The sharp command cut through the air. Justice Green turned, his expression calm but with a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Is there a problem, officers?" "We received a report of a vehicle matching yours involved in a robbery," the officer stated, his hand hovering over his gun holster. Passers-by began to gather. Some pulled out their phones to record. Justice took a deep breath, keeping his voice steady. "That's a serious accusation. May I see the report?" There was no reply, only the click of handcuffs tightening around his wrists. A murmur rippled through the crowd. No one knew that the man just arrested was the very judge set to preside over tomorrow's trial, a trial that could change everything. Before we delve into this story, let us know where you're watching from. Share your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow, we'll bring you another inspiring story, crafted just for you. In broad daylight, a man was being handcuffed for nothing more than his perceived suspicious appearance, the officers oblivious to the fact that the black man they were arresting was a judge. The very next day, he was set to preside over their trial, exposing a system that had failed everyone. What unfolded next would leave everyone in shock, but let's start at the beginning. In the bustling heart of Silver Springs downtown, officers Tom and Jake patrolled the crowded streets with an air of dominance that had become their trademark. Their reputation for targeting individuals they deemed suspicious had spread far and wide, a reputation many locals whispered about, but few dared to challenge. Today, their attention was drawn to a man who, by their standards, didn't belong. Justice Green, a middle-aged black man with a quiet air of authority, stepped out of a sleek black sedan parked near City Hall. His crisp navy blue suit, accented with a pocket square and polished leather shoes, spoke of success and professionalism. In his hand, he carried a worn leather briefcase, a testament to years of diligent work. Justice exuded confidence, his calm demeanor suggesting a man of purpose. But to Tom and Carter, his polished exterior wasn't a sign of respectability, but a red flag. "Sir, stop right there." Tom barked, his hand instinctively hovering near the pistol at his hip. His voice carried the weight of assumed authority, an edge sharpened by prejudice. Justice paused, turning slowly with a flicker of doubt in his eyes. His calm face betrayed only a moment's hesitation before he addressed the officers. "Officers, is there a problem?" His voice was measured, steady, and utterly devoid of panic, a reaction that seemed to perplex them. "We received a report of a vehicle matching yours involved in a recent robbery," Jake added, his tone laced with false concern. The accusation was baseless, fabricated from thin air, but the sight of Justice's calm exterior seemed to further agitate them. Justice raised an eyebrow, his voice unwavering. "That's a serious accusation. May I see the report?" Tom's jaw tightened, a flash of annoyance crossing his face. "Hands where I can see them. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice," he snapped, escalating without cause. Passers-by stood in stunned silence, their expressions a mix of shock and unease. A few phones emerged, capturing the unfolding scene. Justice complied without resistance, his movements deliberate. As the cold metal of the handcuffs tightened around his wrists, he spoke, his voice low but firm. "You're making a grave mistake." The officers responded with a scoff, oblivious to the storm they had just ignited. Inside the police precinct, Justice Green sat calmly in the holding cell, his composed demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos and hostility surrounding him. Officers Tom and Carter, emboldened by the false sense of power their badges afforded them, seized every opportunity to mock his silence. "Thought he was some kind of big shot," Tom sneered, eliciting a chuckle from Carter. "Probably thinks keeping quiet makes him look innocent," Jake added with a smug grin. Justice's stoic expression remained unmoved, his silence only deepening the unease in the room. His occasional requests for a phone call were met with flat refusals. Instead, they subjected him to hours of pointless interrogation, their questions laced with thinly veiled contempt. Outside the precinct walls, a different story was unfolding. The videos of Justice's arrest, captured by bystanders, began to circulate on social media. The clips laid bare every detail of the injustice, the fabricated accusations, the aggressive handling, and Justice's dignified compliance. Outrage surged online as activists and community leaders condemned the blatant display of racism. News editors dissected the footage, questioning the officers' motives, while hashtags demanding justice began to trend. Unaware of the brewing storm beyond the precinct walls, Tom and Jake reveled in their perceived victory. To them, justice was just another arrest, a number to fill their statistics. The thought that they had detained a figure of significance never crossed their minds. In the holding cell, Justice finally broke his silence. His voice cut through the air with quiet authority as he addressed the duty sergeant. "I need to contact my office. I have a trial tomorrow." The sergeant smirked, leaning back in his chair. "A trial? You planning to represent yourself before the judge?" Justice's gaze remained unwavering as he replied, "No, I am the judge." The smile vanished. Silence descended upon the room, broken only by the click of keys as the sergeant frantically checked the database. His face paled as the truth appeared on the screen. Justice Green, magistrate judge, presiding judge of Silver Spring City Court. The weight of their mistake began to sink in, and panic spread like wildfire through the police station. The storm they had ignited was about to turn against them. The next morning, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Journalists jostled for position, their cameras trained on the entrance. Community members, many of whom had seen Justice's unjust arrest online, filled the gallery, their faces a mix of outrage and curiosity. Tension was palpable as the clock ticked closer to the start of the hearing. When Justice Green entered the courtroom, the room fell silent. Clad in his judicial robes, he walked with measured confidence, his presence commanding respect. No longer the man in handcuffs, Justice stood as the presiding judge, his authority unquestionable. He took his seat on the bench, his gaze sweeping across the room, lingering for a moment on the two men who had arrested him, Officers Tom and Carter. Officers Tom and Jake entered a few minutes later, their usual bravado replaced by visible unease. Their faces were ashen, their eyes darting around nervously, avoiding the gaze of the audience and the sharp stare of the man they had humiliated. Officers Tom and Carter, Justice's voice rang out, firm and decisive. "You stand accused of racial profiling, unlawful arrest, and abuse of power. Do you have anything to say in your defense?" The officers stammered, searching for words. Their responses were disjointed and unconvincing. They attempted to justify their actions with feeble excuses, claiming they were following procedure and acting on a report, but their defenses crumbled under the weight of the evidence. The courtroom replayed the viral videos of the arrest, showing Justice's calm demeanor in stark contrast to the officers' aggression. Witness testimonies detailed the fabricated accusations and the excessive use of force. And then there was Justice's impeccable record, a magistrate judge with years of dedicated service to the community. As Justice conducted the trial with unwavering professionalism, a fire in his eyes betrayed his deeper resolve. The irony of the situation hung heavy in the air. The officers had arrested a man on his way to meet the mayor about community reforms, only to become the embodiment of the systemic issues he sought to address. By the end of the trial, it was clear that the truth had illuminated their narrative, leaving Tom and Jake exposed and facing the consequences. The verdict was swift, delivering a clear message. Officers Tom and Jake were suspended without pay pending further investigation. Their reckless actions and the blatant racism they displayed were no longer a matter of internal discussion, but a subject of public outrage. The police chief, his face etched with strain under the weight of the scandal, issued a public apology. He acknowledged that the police department had failed, not just Justice Green, but the entire community. However, no amount of remorse could undo the damage to the department's reputation, now seen as a symbol of systemic racism. For Justice, this ordeal became a turning point not only for him personally, but also for the community he had long served. Rather than harbor bitterness, he chose to channel his experience into action. With his judicial platform and newfound public support, Justice spearheaded an ambitious initiative to reform the local police force. He worked tirelessly with city officials to develop mandatory training programs, focusing on eliminating racial bias, fostering community engagement, and rebuilding trust between law enforcement and the citizens they were sworn to protect. The story of Justice Green, a respected judge wrongfully arrested by the very system he represented, ignited community protests demanding accountability, sweeping across the city, involving citizens of all races and backgrounds. The incident sparked statewide policy reforms, including stricter accountability measures for officers and the establishment of independent oversight commissions to investigate misconduct. Months later, as the dust settled, Justice found himself standing on the steps of City Hall, a rare moment of quiet reflection. Below him, a diverse group of police recruits, each selected under the new reforms, lined up for the academy. Their faces were a mix of determination and hope, representing a vision of law enforcement built on fairness and respect. Justice's faint smile reflected his cautious optimism. Though the scars of injustice remained, he allowed himself to believe that change was possible. One day, he thought, justice would no longer be a hard-won battle, but a given, a foundation upon which society stood firm and equitable. For now, he remained steadfast in his mission, knowing the fight was far from over, but also recognizing that progress, however small, was worth every step. The story of Justice Green is a powerful reminder of justice, perseverance, and systemic change. If you were him, what would you do in the face of injustice? Have you ever had to stand up for your rights or the rights of others? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice can inspire and create positive change. If this story resonated with you, feel free to share it with friends and family to spread the message of fairness and responsibility. Thank you for watching and supporting. Stay tuned for more meaningful stories and thought-provoking lessons. May you always be strong, steadfast, and full of faith in the good. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates. These stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared to promote humanistic values in life and have been rewritten with AI assistance. If there are any errors, please excuse them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.